Let's bring in a couple of other pundits to get their thoughts on what we're talking about here. Pat Toomey is president of the Club for Growth, and Jonathan Jacoby is with the Center for American Progress. Good to see you both. Pat, what do you make of the results here? First, just McCain versus the two Democrats. Are you surprised at the results?
No, I'm not surprised. I think this is consistent with what we're seeing generally. You know, if you look at the generic environment, it looks really tough for Republicans, congressional ballots, presidential ballots. But when you look at the actual head-to-head matchups, this race is a tie. It's a tie, essentially a tie between McCain, whether it's Clinton or whether it's Obama. But there's better news when you look deeper into these numbers. For instance, John McCain has a much better favorable to unfavorable ratio than Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, essentially, as many people have an unfavorable view towards her, as those that have a favorable view, whereas John McCain, it's almost 2-to-1 favorable versus the negatives. Barack Obama's favorable to unfavorable is only slightly better than John McCain's. Right. That's very encouraging. McCain has room to grow. Hillary does not. The other thing that I found very interesting in the poll is fully 75%, actually I think it was 77% of the respondents said that they want a president who's either a conservative or a moderate. Well, people are most likely to see McCain as the moderate in this field. Many will see him as a conservative. Nobody sees him as a liberal, and not too many people are looking for a liberal. Both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are liberals, and when that contrast comes out, that's going to play to McCain's advantage.
Jonathan, I guess it's pretty clear these results and others that we have seen, the public at this point relying on the Democrats to do something about the economy, but is that a be careful what you wish for kind of a solution?
Well, the Democrats have laid out some effective economic plans. We're waiting to hear from Senator McCain on a more concrete vision for the economy. But if you look at, you know, as you know, my fellow guests pointed out, 75% are speaking persuasively on one issue. On another issue, they say 75% are saying in this poll that they expect that they want the next president to govern differently from the current president. And you also have 75% saying they expect that Senator McCain would closely track or closely follow the Bush agenda, including on the economy. So if you put two and two together, you might see that there's going to be concern about that as our next presidential route.
John, is McCain simply suffering from Bush fatigue, what you could consider to, you know, having one party in the White House for the last 8 years?
No question about it. Historically, that's a big burden to carry, to try to win the third term for a party in the White House. And I think the point that was just made is exactly right. The public is saying they want something different from Bush. What McCain has going for him is a favorable regard, as Pat pointed out, for his persona. They like the straight talk. They like the maverick. It doesn't go over so well with some people like Pat on the right within the Republican Party, but John McCain has got a real asset. The question is, how does he build out his candidacy? What are his more detailed proposals going to be on the economy? Does he go with Bush, continuation of Bush tax cuts? Does he come out with something new?
What do you think he'll do, Pat?
You know, one of the things to keep in mind, yes, it's true, President Bush's numbers are very weak. Of course, the Democrat-controlled Congress numbers are much weaker. They're much worse. And one of the things that is going to become a discussion in the fall.
If only he could run against the Congress.
Well, you have two senators who are Democrat senators, the Democrat-controlled Congress. But here's one thing they clearly will contrast, and that is whether the Bush tax cut should be made permanent. A majority of Americans think they should. And most people don't think it's a good idea to have a massive tax increase while the economy is weak. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton want that tax increase. John McCain doesn't. He wants to keep taxes where they are. Also on spending, McCain's been a hawk fighting wasteful spending from day one when he joined Congress. The public's with him on that. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are not. They've got all kinds of big spending programs. Right. So I think on the economic issues, John McCain's going to be in better shape.
Quick last word to you, Jonathan.
If I can jump in, I think, you know, we're seeing a different side here. The American people are complaining about the economy. They're worried about the economy, and they're seeing 7 years of mismanagement. It's really an economic, you know, situation where we've had an unmanaged portfolio. If our president has been, you know, in charge of a portfolio, we haven't seen great results. Looking ahead to the next president, there's a chance on a number of issues, on rebuilding our infrastructure, on basic R&D, on green job creation, and a new vision on trade and globalization that would really address people's concerns about NAFTA and so on. Right. We've laid out a plan for ourselves called Virtuous Circle, where we see a real vision to move ahead on trade and globalization in a way that makes sense for the American people.
All right, Pat, Jonathan, good to see you both. Thanks for joining us today. John, always good to have you in the mothership.